And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of The Warm Down. Today I've got a very special guest joining me and it's former referee boss, the boss of all bosses of the referees, Keith Hackett. How are you doing, Keith?
I'm fine, thanks. Delighted to be here.
We're going to talk about VAR, we're going to talk about referee performances, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of some referee decisions and why they go the way they go and stuff like that. So let's kick it off. The biggest issue in football and football refereeing right now is VAR.
Yeah, for sure. And as someone that brought in the communication kits, had a big shout in terms of goal line technology, that should give you a background that I'm for the use of technology in the game, providing it doesn't spoil the game that we know. So with VAR, what I've seen in England so far is pretty poor. I do know that in other parts of the country, I was in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, I saw and discussed with the Portuguese League, Bundesliga, and what was happening at the MLS. The MLS seemed to have got it more right than any other league at this moment in time. I think because of the sports in America, they're used to... There's
a lot of TV reviews in American football and things like that.
So I'm happy with that. But I think for me, there's a big letdown with VAR at the moment. And that is, if I'm sat at home watching the game on TV, I'm informed that VAR is being looked at. I can probably see some of the replays of what the referee might be seeing or the VAR's seeing. If I'm in the audience and a fan, I'm seeing nothing. So there's this huge pause that's not a good place in football. It's not part of football.
I said this earlier today, and obviously I didn't want to ruin this for talking about it again on this, but if you remove that explosion of emotion and excitement when a goal is scored, we might as well just lock up stadiums now because we're not going to have a game, are we? That is the game, isn't it?
Well, I think it is the game. And I think this is the danger of VAR. And this is why I think, first of all, the training and the development of how it's going to be used has to be spot on. You know, let us just get to a point where we can use other sports as an experience. But let us get to the point where when I was refereeing, I might have a linesman with a flag who signals to me there's a penalty kick. I take it. I don't go across and have a huge dialogue. I've got the confidence that if he's telling me it's a penalty, it's a penalty. We'll review it afterwards, and as a team, we'll take the heat if he's got it wrong.
And that's what the VAR should be doing. Just in the air. Penalty Keith. All right, cool.
Exactly, and that's all he's got to do. You know, you've got the wrong guy, Keith. You're sending off the wrong man. Or I've got a mass confrontation, and I know how to deal with it, because that's where I'm going to be better informed. By the way, you need to nail number 10, Keith. I've seen what he's done. And all that can be done quietly, without all the histrionics of huge delays or a goal being scored. And like you, I think we share the same view. There's nothing worse than a goal being scored.
And then confusion.
And then is it a goal, is it not a goal? We're waiting. And then the guy who wants to celebrate it, the team that want to celebrate it, the fans in the stadium who are going crazy, are all now, it's silent. Oh yeah, he's awarded a goal, and they start walking. We've killed it.
Imagine, but obviously you might have noticed, the United fan.
Yeah.
Champions League final 1999, and Solskjaer has, let's see what the fourth official's got to say about it. It's not the same.
No, absolutely.
It's not the same.
Absolutely not. But the benefit will be, if we get to this particular place, where I think we share a similar view, where you had in the World Cup final in France against the Irish team, where there was a clear handball.
Oh, it was the playoff, wasn't it? The playoff for the World Cup with Terry Henry.
Yeah, clear handball. That's when the referee needs to be informed. That's handball. Kill it. And that's where it's got the benefit.
We spoke earlier about the One Matter incident, which is, for me, obviously being a United fan, it's the most famous incident for VAR in this country at the moment. And even with multiple reviews and people putting it in the newspaper and everything like that, there was arguments still. And the ruling is clear and obvious error, isn't it? Not like, let's get it to the millimetre precision. It's clear and obvious error. If One Matter's 5 foot in front of him, you go, yeah, let's pull that back, he's offside.
Yeah.
But the fact is, there's a centimetre of his knee in front of him.
Oh, well, we're on a subject, offside, that creates most debate, doesn't it? And I totally disagree with the law. I think the law's a nonsense because it's been penned on the basis that we've got a guy on the line who's got to make a judgment as to whether the toe is in front of the line. Absolute nonsense, isn't it?
We're not playing on a grid. The
No.
cameras aren't millimetre perfect alongside, so you don't know if, you can go off the lines on the grass. Are the lines on the grass straight?
Well,
We don't know, do we?
I think the thing is, we all know, and we can put geometry into it. If the assistant referee's a metre in front or a few feet in front,
Yeah, excuse me.
then it's skewed, and it's a skewed decision. And of course, if you've got players that can move at pace, what happens up here in the mind of the assistant referee is, I need to be up with play, and so he's actually creeping in front. So the whole aspect then is, I go back to a colleague of mine, Philip Don, who used to run the PGMOL before I took over, and he used to say, I want clear daylight between the forward and defender, and then I can judge offside.
That for me, I remember that when that was that 90s? I think that
Yeah,
was
it was.
the
Yeah.
when that was offside. Now it's any part of the body that can score a goal. So an arm, not offside, a shoulder, offside, a head from someone leaning, even though they can't run ahead, is offside.
Well, I talked to my mate Mark Halsey, who's a very experienced referee, a great communicator, and Mark and I will watch games and we'll argue. We'll argue about is he offside or not offside.
Shouldn't be that open, should it?
As two former experienced referees, we cannot at times agree. So, what chance as the modern referee and the modern assistant referee, where the game is much quicker, and he's got to make an instant judgment. And of course, what we started to do, even when I was in charge of the PGMOL, we made a statement. Look, give the benefit of the doubt to the forwards. And the reason
that used to be the thing. It's no longer a thing.
No,
anymore,
it
is
isn't. Because what the lawmakers are saying, offside is this judgment and this is the wording. And then we have this interfering with an opponent. Well, throw the cards in the air, catch one, because I can put a bunch of referees in a room and we will not agree. And what you have to do with the law is, what we have to do is, we need the fans' engagement, because without the fans we ain't got a game. So therefore, I sit there, let's have the arguments, he's offside, he's not offside, right? But at the moment, we've got people arguing amongst themselves from the same team saying he's offside, not offside, because we can't get an agreement. And then we watch it on TV, they play the replay, they put the line across the screen, and we still
Which
say...
isn't necessarily accurate either.
Correct, of course it's not. And so therefore, let's pen the law that everybody understands. Let's involve the players and the managers in the process of penning the law. And we might even start from a position, heaven forbid, but we might suddenly say, why do we need this law? Why do we need a law that more often chokes off goals when that's what we go to watch, don't we? As fans, I go to the game, I watch my team, Penistone Church, who play non-league football, they score the goal, everybody appeals, is he offside, is he not offside? We don't even get into that judgment. We generally rely on the game. We have an argument, but for me, I think the law's wrong. I think that it needs changing, and we don't need on a Saturday night a review that draws a line across the screen that makes a judgment. Because how thick is the line?
Yeah, and when do we know from a player's played the ball on the far side of the pitch? How do we know when he's played the ball? When his kangaroo leather touches the leather of the ball, is that when he's played the ball, or is it when he leaves his foot?
Well,
how do we see that when the ball's obscuring his foot?
Well, we've now got that law that says he's got to have deliberately played the ball. Well, we see players now with massive skill sets who have this great touch and feel. And I've got to make a judgment on that.
Did he mean it?
And you go, did he mean it? Did he not mean it? Because, at the end of the day, when you've got high quality players, the thing is, the reason they're high quality is they do things to surprise us all.
Yeah.
The Ronaldo overhead kick, we've seen that before, but when we see it again and we see the quality of the execution, you just go, wow, there's an artist who's put his foot to ball and his body shape and all the practice that he's done hour after hour to get that impact on the game. That's what we want to see.
There's something I'd like to see amended in the offside rule if we're throwing it up in the air and starting again. When the ball's played and a guy's offside, but he stands still and the defensive line comes back, if the second he receives it he's in an onside position, for me there's no advantage there.
Yeah.
So why is that offside?
Well, because first of all, the position is not. It can be an offside position. He's not committed a defence. He has to effectively either play the ball or interfere with an opponent, or if he's standing in an offside position, there's a shot on goal, hits the bar, comes back, he's gained an advantage.
Oh no, then he's gained an advantage.
Yeah,
I mean,
but not in that situation. So
if you cross it to me and I'm standing offside, but in the flight of the ball, the defence gets there and I receive the ball in an onside position, what would then be an onside position, that for me shouldn't be offside.
I think I agree with you.
Because you've lost the advantage.
Yeah.
Because so many times you see a player collect a ball and the defence has beat him back, scrambled back. He hasn't gained an advantage, but I think you'd end up with more open play. Because that's going to drop the defensive line, because they're going to see players making runs, trying to tease them and see the ball played and collect it when it's onside.
Well,
he's gaming it a bit, but I like it.
In the early 80s, 81, I refereed on the North American Soccer League. And so I came across all these top-class players that the NASL had imported. And they had an offside where they extended the penalty area across the pitch. So in effect, 18 yards from the goal line, that's the area where you could be offside. And for me...
So you was only offside in the penalty area?
You were only effectively offside in the penalty area, or that bit that extended to the touchline. And for me, that was an improvement, because the Americans were saying, well, you know, we're not negating goals. There's really nothing worse, is there, as fans? When we sat there and the ball gets crossed to a winger who's inches offside, toe in front of the opponent, and we all go, ooh, we're waiting in anticipation, and up goes the assistant's flag. Well, we want to murder the assistant, don't we? If we're really honest.
It's a technicality in it, and you're like, come on, mate, let the game play. Because ultimately, the best referees are the ones that you have no idea are there, aren't they? That's it. You have no idea the ref was there. That was a great referee.
Absolutely, but I think also difficult in the modern game, because the modern referees become personalities. But I think if referees can communicate what they're doing or what they've done to the public after the game in a short soundbite that says, this is why I've sent this player off, this is why I disallowed this goal. Done, isn't it? We're
and not a quiz, not a press conference.
No.
A statement.
A statement that says, you know, you might be interested to know that immediately after the game, the referee, the assistant referees have got the notes, they could bring together, and they write, number 7, yellow card, unsporting behaviour. Number 8, dismissed for violent conduct, X minute. That is produced, and that's handed to the club secretary.
Or they know when that decision's controversial. I didn't give a penalty because.
Correct.
Or I did give the penalty because.
Yeah. Well, again, to expand that.
Well, the journalists could ask the questions, couldn't they?
Yeah.
You say, why did you give that penalty? Sound.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to go back and forth, but they can put those.
Well,
that would be brilliant.
You know, I mean, look at denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, where the referee's now got to make, is it going towards goal? Is it a foul? Did the defender attempt to play the ball? If it's inside the penalty area, did the goalkeeper attempt to play the ball? In that situation, it's a penalty kick, yellow card. If he's not, like the Buffon incident that we saw last night, or the goal, in that situation, he's not attempt to play the ball, he's played the man, that's a penalty kick and a red card. Now, sometimes we don't always see that. And you know, why should we have to wait till after the game and replays and replays? Why are we not
and then
informed?
it's people who didn't make the decision telling you why a guy made a decision. Why can't the guy who made the decision tell us?
Look, it's even worse than that. When I was the boss of PGMOL, on a Monday, the first thing I used to do is have debates with the media about why referees have got it wrong. And in fairness, I brought in levels of accountability, and I was quite prepared to say, look, publicly, the referee's made an error here, and he'll be sat on his hands next week, which some people, even fans, thought, "Phew, that's a bit harsh. As a player, I can make a mistake. I don't get penalised." But I used to say, look, if you're a centre forward and you're not putting the ball in the back of the net, you get dropped. If you're a referee and you're not making accurate decisions, or you're making big howlers, then you're not going to go out the following week. In a way, that creates, if you like, some sort of fear. I agree, but it also says, look, you're sharp. You're ready for the next. You know what your accountability is, but at the moment there's no communication, is there? There's just this. You find that either it's me or it's Mark Halsey talking to various stations or communicating around the world why this referee has made an error.
Yeah,
and
BT
so,
now have a ref in the studio, don't they?
Yeah,
that reviews it and gives
yeah.
it's still his opinion. It's not what actually went down.
And
sometimes they disagree.
Well, yeah, and sometimes I worry about the independence of that individual. Because at one stage, Howard Webb, who I've coached and I know really well, he was doing that role, but he was still employed by the PGMOL, and so, if you like, his salary is earning. He's between a rock and a hard place, because these are his mates. You've got to have somebody that's independent that says it as it is. Look, sorry guys, this referee made it wrong. In the same way that I'm saying, look, Michael Oliver, in the game last night, you did really well and got it right and showed great courage. But before, I've been critical of Michael Oliver because, one, look, he's a youth and he's youthful in the position. He's an outstanding talent. But there was a period at the beginning of the season and last season that he was coasting in the game, and as a result, his distance from play was too far, and he was making guesses rather than accurate decisions. So and Alsey kept saying
it's consistency as well, because there was the famous incident with Oliver is the Joe Hart got in his face, nothing. Di Maria pulls his shirt, laters.
Yeah,
there's no consistency there.
No. Well, see, I think that's the role of the general manager of the PGMOL. When every other week you have the referees for a couple of days, you have them in a room, you look at these clips, and then you say, right.
Is that what you used to do? Get the big incidents and go, lads.
Let's look at them. Let's discuss them. It doesn't matter who it is. You stand up. You're the referee. We're not really.
It's not a witch hunt. Yeah.
We're not witch hunting here. Let's have a look how you came to that decision. I'll tell you from where I'm looking. You're not up with play. I've got sports scientists, nutritionalists. You're fit for purpose, but are you putting in the effort? So let's have a look at that aspect, and we used to have the technical backup to be able to do that. Examine his fitness programs, because he uses a heart monitor, and therefore that's downloaded to sports science. So I know he's doing all the training sessions away from the meeting place. But then we'd review it, have a discussion, and then you might get Graham Paul coming in with his opinion, and he always had an opinion, as he does now, and he'd say, look, you're out of position. If you're not seeing that as a penalty kick, then you're wrong. Look, lads, what do we say? Is that a penalty kick? Let's have a vote on it. It's a penalty kick. Going forward, all that type of incident will be a penalty kick. Now, let's switch back a bit to the hands in face, because there was some confusion. Managers asked me. Managers saying, look, where can a player, an opponent, put his hands? And I'm going, look, this is football. The player doesn't use his hands. If he does, he's committed an offence. He's either pushed, he's handled the ball, or he's put somebody. If he puts his hands on the face of a player, neck and above, it's a red card. Let's have that as a consistent view across all referees, across the game at senior level. And we got some uniformity. In the same way, I can remember going, and I've got Sir Alex and Benitez and the managers in a room, and I've stood up and said, guys, I have to tell you, gents, that here's some clips, and I showed some acts of simulation, because we had to say it's simulation, not diving. So here they were, diving forever, and I've said, gentlemen, I've got to tell you this, the players are getting better, we're having trouble finding it out what it is, and it's only on review, video, that we're determining whether it's a foul or it's a dive. There's a bit of guessing in it, but what you're doing is you've got better than we have at detecting it. So, 1 week, Sir Alex.
Some of the dives must be impossible to detect at full speed.
Well, exactly. And I said, one week, Sir Alex, you're going to get a penalty kick. The next week he's going to get a yellow, and we're all going to disagree. So I need your help. Do what? I need your help. I need you to try to get some integrity into the game in this area, so that we're not fraught with getting hammered for giving penalty kicks when they're not, or yellow cards when they dives.
Yeah. Or when someone's been lifted and they get a yellow for it.
It reduced it. I mean, at the end of the day, there are areas in the game where the boss of the PGMOL needs to come out more frequently to talk about interpretation, so everybody's involved.
Did you ever have any proper run-ins with Sir Alex? Because I can imagine he's someone whose phone wasn't shy in picking up the phone if he had something to say.
Oh yeah, I had my run-ins, but that didn't mean to say I didn't respect. I mean, this guy's got the track record to die for.
What did he have his bee in his bonnet about the match?
Well, I can remember it was not as a referee, funnily enough. I mean, I had Man United derbies. I even had the famous. Can you remember Manchester United Arsenal?
Oh, the Battle of Old Trafford.
Oh, absolutely.
Was you refereeing that?
Absolutely.
That was one of my first matches.
Oh.
I was like, Dad, is it like this every week?
Well,
I'm in.
I mean, I'm in the middle of that, and to be honest with you, I could have sent all of them off, or more than more.
Was it Brian McClare and Dennis Irwin go through Anders Limpar for something that had happened in a previous fixture?
Correct.
And then Paul Ince launches someone into an advertising board.
So I'd not seen it.
Right.
I'd not held my gaze. So when I've seen the ruckus, I'm not aware of that. And in fairness, my colleagues, because we had no communication kits then, and so at the end of the day, I'm there. Eventually, it's calmed down after a bit, and I've said to myself, in my own mind, I've said to myself, look, if I send somebody off here, right, I'm sure there's going to be another one that I should have sent off, and perhaps another. So if I send one off, I'm being unfair. Because in a way, I'm back to the guessing game. I didn't see anybody commit murder. I haven't had to call on the trainer. Get on with it. But after that, seriously, then thought, well, if I'm faced with that again in that situation, how do I deal with it? And that's when we have, if you like, the developing protocol of how to deal with it. Assistants come on slowly, one slower than the other. He's watching for the runners. We know full well that if it's a mass confrontation, the referee's going to issue 2 yellow cards, minimum.
For whatever sparked it. 2
yellow cards. He's got to catch 2 that's created it. He's got to communicate with his guys. That's where the communication kit comes in. But first of all, has he got any reds? And you know, the famous one is Howard Webb in the Carling Cup final, Arsenal-Chelsea, when in the 95th minute there's a bit of a blowout and he sends one off, then he sends another off, and then he confers to the assistants, are there any more reds? And the assistant said yes. Adebayo's got to go because he's had a go at me and he's having a go at everybody else. So 3 trundle off in the 96th minute, and then Howard says, right, I'm going to do my yellows now. And he did both captains. Now that's the extreme, but the reality was at no time did the referee look as though it's out of control. Now in my case, if I'm a fan looking at that and looking at the video, you go, Hackett's lost it for a bit. And in fairness, Hackett had lost it for a bit because there's 22s, apart from the goalkeepers, they're all scrambling around on the ball. And then
I think Arsenal ended up getting, was it a 5 or 6 point deduction on the back of that? I think United got a 1 point deduction.
They got point deductions. Yeah. It was the first time points deductions. I mean, I went to the
so you're saying that could happen this season and United can still win the league? You heard it here first.
I think that with the protocols now, it's a better opportunity. With VAR, that would be the case where it would.
Oh, I'm sure people get absolutely rinsed with it, don't they? We got a few questions from people. Which current refs do you rate or not rate?
I think the top German referee, I rate. But
Is that the guy who points like this?
Yeah, he does a bit. But I think the I mean, the top referees here in England are in effect clear, and that is Anthony Taylor and Michael Oliver. But in fairness, they lack experience, because the one thing is, if we look at peaks and troughs in the game, and you know, this is just a formulated opinion, because I'm often accused of being the old fart that's like, oh, he's done it all, seen it all, and all he wants to do is have a go. I don't. I want to see top referees in England. You know, I'm a guy who played a part in introducing professional referees to improve the standard of refereeing. I think at the moment we're some distance off. We've got an ageing population with the oldest group of referees in Europe. Okay, if they're old enough, fit enough, then they're good enough, right? But I think there's some referees on that group at the moment that I wouldn't have in my squad, and I'd be looking to bring younger referees through into it, because I think that we've got to do that. But overall, I think that, you know, we are blessed with referees with high levels of integrity, but the speed of our game in England means that at times referees are caught out of position, and that's where the errors come. It's not because there's a lack of integrity, it's just absolutely caught out and not in good position.
Kieran, who I think is a referee, actually, himself, says, do referees have plans or different mentalities going into big games, such as a Champions League game or a cold night in Stoke?
Yeah, absolutely. If a referee's not doing his own work, that doesn't mean I'm ticking this player, I've got a black book or a red book or whatever, and I'm going to do this player and that player. What he's got to do is, first of all, referees now are better informed than in my day. Tactically, they've got to be aware. What's the impact of a substitution into the game? The changing tactic. Is he brought on to become a stopper? Does that mean that they're parking the bus? And when a team parks the bus, as they do,
you might be looking for tactical fouls.
Yeah,
you've
got to ensure that you're aware of all those things. So yes, you have to have a plan. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be alert, and you know, at no time can you switch off. We used to have a referee who was brilliant to 75 minutes, and then all his negatives came in the last 15 minutes. And we started to examine sports psychologists, we examined the performances, video reviews and all that goes. And what we found was that out of that information, at 75 minutes he actually was saying to himself, the game's over, I've got it done, it's great, I'm in charge, it'll all now go towards a finish. So he's hit the finishing line too early.
When key moments in games, as we saw in the Champions League, with Real Madrid and Juventus,
absolutely.
in the 93rd minute stuff, you need to make big decisions.
Yeah. So what we did was that referee, we had a rubber band, so we gave him a rubber band, and we reminded the assistant referees, look, 75 minutes down, tell him to flick the rubber band, and just flicked it, and it was a wake-up call, not an alarm bell, but a wake-up call. With the communication kits, you can now, as an assistant referee, you know, team play comes in more. The assistants can be saying to the referee, look, it's looking good, or sharpen up, or look, it needs tighter. From where I'm standing, it's looking at this game's going a bit, you need to tighten up. So in a sense, you've got a fan's view when you're on the line, but you can import that into the referee to say, look, be sharp here, be focused. So there's a lot of talking going on.
Next one is Jack says, why become a referee? The amount of stick they get week in and out from players, coaches, fans, papers. Does it make you want to keep pursuing that? What makes you want to keep pursuing that career path?
Well, you know, as a player, you might get the ball for about 2 or 3 minutes in a game because it's shared amongst 22 players. As a referee, you're there for 90 minutes, and believe me, you can get loads of enjoyment. Now, yeah, you're going to take a bit of pain, but I'm a normal lad. My dad was a steel worker, you know. I was expected to go in the steelworks, believe it or not. And I finished up refereeing, and I got caught into this disease, because that's what it is, the love of the game, the passion. I'm really passionate about the game. And when people come up and say, hey, you've done well, ref, thanks, and all that, it's the small things that are really nice. But then I get into the world of like Football League and Premier League and international games. You know, I've been to 100 countries around the world. You know, I refereed Gdansk v Juventus when nobody was allowed in Poland because of the uprising. I met Lech Walesa when he was at the shipyards. I took the last game between an East German, West German team on unification night. I saw guys and women stood on the top of the wall with hammers knocking the wall down.
It's a pretty iconic memory.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, yes, we're refereeing a football match, but you know, to work out in the Bernabeu or to be in Azteca with 120,000 spectators. Look, I can remember my first game in the Bernabeu, Real, and I'm refereeing Real against a team from Moscow, and I was staying in a hotel about half a mile away, and of course chauffeur-driven car to the ground and all that, and I've said, look, take me kit. Why? I'm walking to the ground, and I just walked almost as a fan, just to capture the atmosphere.
Soak it all in.
And then hope, I suddenly thought 100 yards from the Bernabeu, hope you're going to let me in. You know. And
what a top blag that is, by the way. Hello, I'm the ref.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm sure they've got ID out their arse, but I'm sure back in the day, you could probably just knock on and be like, I've got a whistle and everything, so it's me, obviously.
Well, I might tell you a story that involved Man U. Man U were playing Arsenal at Villa Park in a semi-final game. And I'd got my boss, and I'm trying to get some brownie points to get days off when I needed to referee. So I'm saying to the boss, who's not a football fan, this is a semi-final, what's one of them, and all that.
Oh my God.
And I'm going, yeah. And I drive up to Villa, right, and I've gone, Keith Hackett, referee. Go already in. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm definitely
So
not, mate.
I'm absolutely gobsmacked. He's laughing at the back, really, and I've gone, and so eventually I have to turn round, park the car up, walk with my kit, and somebody says to me, you Keith Hackett, the referee? And I go, no mate, I'm just selling the sandwiches in the bag, I'm going to watch the game. And I eventually get into the ground. So I've had the reverse of that, but that was an odd one. But certainly it can happen.
Do referees have a reputation of a player in mind? If you know a player's a diver, does that cloud the judgment when you see him go over in the box?
I think what you're trying to do is make the judgment on the day with that particular player. In my day, we had Franny Lee, and I can remember we had to check studs in dressing rooms then. So going in the dressing room, I'm at Derby County, and I'm checking the studs, and Brian Clough, I think it was the manager, said, now then referee, I want you to keep an eye on the Manchester City number 10, Francis Lee, because he's a bit of a diver. And I always remember that, because in fact I took the opposite view. I'm sure if Franny Lee had dived on the day, from my own integrity, I probably wouldn't have done anything.
Because of the opposition
yeah,
manager
because
sold
of what was said. But I generally think, yes, you know the players at the time who had reputations, and then you had to deal with them on the day. And that was never a public, it was a quiet run. You know, I'll tell you a story. My brother was a director of Stringfellas nightclub in London, believe it or not. And I'm refereeing at Old Trafford, and they'd been early into the signing of Joe Jordan and Gordon McQueen. And as a Yorkshireman, I wasn't allowed to referee Leeds United, although I refereed I lived in Sheffield, as I still do. And I'm refereeing the match, and Joe Jordan gets a ball, and he had this habit of putting his arms together and almost catching the ball. So, in a way, I knew he did that. So up here, the mental view is, I'm giving a free kick. So I've given the free kick. So he gives me a tirade.
He's a big dude now, isn't he?
Oh, an absolute massive tirade. And so I've then gone look, listen, tell you what, if you continue, you're banned from Stringfellas nightclub and left the scene, right? And I've got Joe Jordan running alongside me, right? And all of a sudden, at the next one, he's saying, Gordon, he's saying I'm banned from Stringfellas nightclub. And Gordon McQueen says, well, he's Johnny Hackett's brother. And he goes, Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. And that was it.
Right, we're ending it on that.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better than that. Keith, thank you very much. This was
Delighted.
awesome. Thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
very
Let me know in the comments who you want to see in the next one. Check out the link for Patreon and see what we're doing over there. And subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one. Laters.